In the 1500s, a Spanish priest watched soldiers torch entire fields just to kill one crop. Why? Because that single grain fed an empire, and they wanted it gone forever. It almost vanished. Today, scientists call it a superfood, and it's only number 11 on this list. The other 14 will completely change how you see your dinner plate.
Amaranth has a long history that dates back thousands of years. It was an important part of Aztec culture.
Number 15. Einkorn. The wheat in your bread today barely shares DNA with the original. The first wheat humans ever farmed was called einkorn. It grew in the Fertile Crescent over 10,000 years ago. Egyptian pharaohs ate it. Roman legions marched on it. Loaves of einkorn have turned up sealed inside ancient tombs. So what happened? Modern wheat got bred for speed and yield, and every round stripped out nutrients. Einkorn still carries higher protein, antioxidants, zinc, and iron than the wheat in your sandwich. Its gluten structure is simpler too, which is why a lot of people who can't tolerate modern wheat handle einkorn just fine. We traded 10,000 years of nutrition for a faster harvest. And the next crop is even older and tougher. Number 14. Sorghum. Picture a field in Northeast Africa during a brutal dry season. The corn is dead. The wheat is gone. One crop is still standing, full of grain. That's sorghum, and it's been doing this for over 5,000 years. Sorghum feeds around 300 million people across semi-arid Africa and Asia. It's the fifth most important cereal crop in the world, but most Western shoppers have never tasted it. Sorghum needs roughly 36% less water than other major grains, runs about 20% protein, and is loaded with iron, zinc, and antioxidants. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has poured millions into making it tougher because they know what's coming. As temperatures climb, sorghum keeps thriving where everything else dies. Number 13. Teff. That spongy flatbread called injera at every Ethiopian meal? It's made from teff. And teff is the smallest grain on earth.
Injera is a porous, sponge-like sourdough bread that is quite literally the foundation of Ethiopian cuisine. It's made out of teff, the smallest grain in the world, and it doubles as both a plate and silverware in many Ethiopian meals.
There you go! Look at that! Oh my God!
About 100 teff seeds equal the size of one wheat kernel. But the nutrition packed inside is brutal. 100 grams of teff packs around 180 milligrams of calcium, more than 5 times what oatmeal delivers. It's also the only ancient grain with a meaningful amount of vitamin C, plus all 9 essential amino acids. Ethiopian endurance runners have been quietly dominating long-distance racing for decades, and many credit teff. Researchers in Europe even linked high teff intake to lower anemia rates in pregnant Ethiopian women. So why aren't shelves stocked with it? Because Ethiopia banned exports for years to keep teff affordable for its own people. Number 12. Fonio. In West Africa, they call Fonio the seed of the universe. It's been growing in the Sahel for over 5,000 years. Ancient empires like Mali and Songhai marched on it. Soldiers ate it before battle. Fonio matures in just 6 to 8 weeks, faster than almost any grain alive. It needs barely any water, grows in soil that would kill most crops, and according to the Bill Gates Foundation, it's gluten-free with significantly more protein and iron than brown rice. West African farmers literally call it the lazy farmer's crop. As the Sahara creeps south and crops fail, Fonio could feed millions. But the crop coming up next almost got the world's attention through pure violence. Number 11. Amaranth.
Amaranth has a long history that dates back thousands of years. It was an important part of Aztec culture.
Now back to that field of burning crops. The year was 1500. Spanish conquistadors had just arrived in Aztec territory. They watched the Aztecs mix amaranth grain with honey, shape it into figures of their gods, and eat it during religious ceremonies. The Spanish lost their minds. They called amaranth a tool of the devil and ordered every field destroyed. People caught growing it could lose their hands or their lives. Why did this crop matter that much? Amaranth was one of the 3 pillars of Aztec civilization, alongside corn and beans. It runs about 13 to 14% protein, and unlike most grains, it contains all 9 essential amino acids, including lysine, which most cereals barely have. The FAO has called amaranth's protein superior to traditional cereals in both content and quality. It's also packed with calcium, iron, and magnesium. The Spanish nearly wiped it off the planet. They almost succeeded. Number 10. Chia. Forget the chia pet jokes. Real chia seeds from a plant called Salvia hispanica fueled the entire Aztec Empire. Aztec runners would carry a small pouch of chia on missions stretching hundreds of miles, eating just a spoonful with water to keep going for hours. Records show 21 of 38 Aztec states paid yearly tribute in chia. That's how valuable it was. Why was it that powerful? Chia seeds run roughly 22% protein, way more than oats, wheat, corn, or rice. They're the richest plant source of omega-3 fatty acids on the planet, plus fiber, calcium, magnesium, and iron. Mix them with water, and they form a gel that releases energy slowly. Perfect fuel for someone crossing rugged terrain. After Spanish colonization, chia almost vanished. By 2022, the global chia market was worth over $2 billion. The Aztecs were 5,000 years ahead of us. Number 9. Kañiwa. Everyone's heard of quinoa now, but growing right next to it, on the freezing high plains of Bolivia and Peru, is a tiny seed almost no one outside the Andes has tasted. The Aymara and Quechua have eaten Kañiwa for thousands of years, and in many ways it beats quinoa. Kañiwa runs about 15 to 19% protein, higher than quinoa, higher than wheat. It contains all 9 essential amino acids plus calcium, iron, and zinc in greater amounts than most commercial cereals. And the part that should excite anyone who tried quinoa and hated the bitter taste? Kañiwa contains no bitter saponins, so you don't have to rinse it. It also handles freezing temperatures, drought, and altitudes over 12,000 feet. The next entry is wild, because it's not one crop. It's 3 crops working together as one living system. Number 8. The 3 sisters: corn, beans, and squash. The Iroquois, Cherokee, and dozens of native nations planted them in the same mound for thousands of years. The corn grows tall and gives the beans something to climb. The beans pull nitrogen from the air and feed it back into the soil. The squash sprawls across the ground, blocks weeds, and locks moisture in. 3 crops doing the work of an entire farm. What about nutrition? On their own, none of the 3 is complete. Together they form a perfect protein. Corn lacks lysine. Beans have plenty. Squash adds vitamins A and C, plus magnesium and zinc from the seeds. Modern research confirmed the 3 sisters polyculture produces more energy and more protein per acre than any local monoculture. Industrial agriculture chose monocropping anyway, because it's easier to harvest with machines. We swapped intelligence for speed. Number 7. Wild rice. Despite the name, wild rice is not actually rice. It's the seed of an aquatic grass that grew in the lakes of the Great Lakes region long before any Europeans arrived. The Ojibwe call it manuman, meaning good berry.
Wild rice has 4 different names that I know it by, and that's manoman, that's the Ojibwe-Moan word, Anishinaabe, also the food that grows on water, and the good berry.
And they've been harvesting it by canoe for centuries. Babies are introduced to it as their first food. Elders are sent off with it as their last. Nutritionally, manuman destroys regular rice. Uncooked wild rice runs over 12% protein, way more than white rice, with higher levels of B vitamins, iron and potassium, and phosphorus. It's gluten-free, naturally low in fat, and contains amino acids white rice simply lacks.
That was good.
So why don't most Americans eat it? After colonization, the Ojibwe food system got disrupted. By the 1960s, commercial farmers started growing fake, wild rice in flooded paddies that barely resembled the real thing. Number 6. Tepary beans. The Sonoran Desert is one of the harshest places on Earth. Summer temperatures regularly hit 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Almost no rain falls. Yet for at least 4,000 years, the Tohono O'odham have grown a bean that flat out thrives there. The tepary bean is widely considered the most drought-tolerant bean on the planet. Why does that matter? Tepary beans pack roughly 25% more protein than common pinto or kidney beans, with up to 13 grams per serving. They're rich in fiber and have a low glycemic index, which makes them a serious tool against diabetes. Slow Food International put the tepary bean on its Ark of Taste list of foods worth saving from extinction. In the 1920s, Tohono O'odham farmers grew over 1.5 million pounds a year. Today, that number is barely a fraction. Number 5. Moringa. In parts of India, Africa, and the Philippines, people call Moringa the miracle tree. That sounds like marketing hype, but the science backs it up. Moringa is a fast-growing tree where almost every part is edible. The leaves, the pods, the seeds, even the flowers and roots. 100 grams of fresh moringa leaves contain roughly 9.8 grams of protein, around 235% of your daily vitamin C, and over 250% of your daily vitamin A. The leaves are packed with calcium, iron, magnesium, and all 9 essential amino acids.
This tree is, has 25 times more iron than spinach, 10 times more vitamin A than carrots, 7 times more vitamin C than oranges, 2 times more protein than yogurt.
The tree grows fast in dry climates, needs almost no maintenance, and one mature tree can feed a family. Aid organizations have used moringa to fight childhood malnutrition for decades, and yet, in Western stores, it sits in expensive jars labeled as a wellness powder. Number 4. Breadfruit. Captain William Bligh, the same one from the famous mutiny on the Bounty, was sent to the Pacific in 1787 on a single mission: bring breadfruit to the Caribbean as a cheap food source for enslaved workers. That's how valuable this crop was even back then. Pacific Islanders had been growing it for over 3,000 years, carrying it in canoes from island to island. Why the obsession? A single mature breadfruit tree can produce over 400 kilograms of fruit per year. That's enough to feed a family of 4 with their basic caloric needs from one tree. The fruit is rich in fiber, vitamin C, potassium, and complex carbohydrates, plus all 9 essential amino acids. The tree starts bearing fruit in 3 to 5 years and keeps producing for 70 to 100 years with almost no care. Researchers have linked traditional breadfruit-based diets to lower rates of type 2 diabetes. One tree, decades of food. We chose endless wheat fields instead. Number 3. Finger millet. In southern India and East Africa, they call it ragi or wimbi. Finger millet has fed people in those regions for over 5,000 years, and it has one nutritional fact that puts almost every grain to shame. 100 grams of finger millet contains roughly 364 milligrams of calcium. That's over 10 times the calcium of wheat. 10 times! For populations who don't drink much dairy, ragi has been a literal lifeline for bone health. It's rich in iron too, which has helped prevent anemia in pregnant women across rural India for generations. Like most ancient grains, it's naturally gluten-free, low on the glycemic index, and grows just fine in dry, poor soil where rice and wheat would die. The United Nations declared 2023 the International Year of Millets, partly because the modern food system has neglected these grains so badly. Doctors in India recommend ragi for diabetics, kids, pregnant women, and elderly patients, because it works. Number 2. Enset. Imagine a single plant that could feed a family of 5 for an entire year, with 60 plants total covering the whole household. That's enset, also called the false banana. Over 20 million people in Ethiopia depend on it as their main food source. They call it The tree against hunger. Enset resembles a banana plant, but you don't eat the fruit. Farmers harvest the thick stem and underground corm, then ferment them for months to make a starchy flatbread called kocho and a flour called bula. Enset is incredibly drought tolerant and can be harvested any time of year. Researchers from Kew Gardens recently found an enset could feed over 100 million more people across Africa. Studies show Ethiopian farmers plant more enset right after droughts hit, because over centuries, they've learned this is the one crop that won't fail them. Number 1. Oca. Most people think the Inca lived on potatoes. They did. But they also grew dozens of other tubers, and the most important after the potato was something called oca. The Inca cultivated oca on terraced fields high in the Andes and built an entire preservation method around it. They'd leave the tubers out for several days in freezing nights and hot sun, which turned the starches into glucose and made them sweet. Inca workers carried these dried oca chunks across the empire as portable energy food. Sound familiar? It's the original energy bar, invented over 500 years before Cliff. What makes oca number 1? It's frost-resistant, drought-tolerant, and grows at altitudes above 13,000 feet where almost nothing else will. It's high in protein with a great amino acid balance, plus fiber, iron, calcium, and antioxidants. The colored varieties from white to deep purple carry different antioxidant profiles, with the darker ones being especially rich. Today, there are still over 50 traditional varieties of oca grown in the Andes. Outside South America, almost no one knows it exists. We replaced this brilliant crop with the russet potato. 15 crops fed entire civilizations for thousands of years. Then industrial farming chose wheat, rice, and corn. The result? Lost nutrition, dead soil, and a fragile food system breaking under climate change. Every crop on this list still exists. Someone, somewhere, is still growing it.